Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, boys and ghouls. Welcome to Christmas Ghost Stories 2023. Today I will be reading Ghost of Christmas Past by Nat Whiston for your ghoulish entertainment pleasures. So, let us begin. It never gets easier. Coming here, especially late at night before Christmas. But I made a promise. Cold air nips at my cheeks as I walk cautiously down the empty street. The streetlights begin to flicker as I silently make my way towards the gate of number 37 Barker Road. The sound of the gate opening makes me wince as it releases a high-pitched squeak. I really wish they would have gotten that fixed. My hands won't stop shaking. I can't tell if it's the cold or my nerves. The frosty December air rushes up my back, and I let out a surprised gasp when the chill hits my spine. I look up at the wreath hanging on the door. For a moment, it feels like Christmas. But then I remember. I reach the broken down doorway, the wood cracked and splintering in places, in desperate need of repair. I constantly told them they needed to get that sorted out as well, but they were happy to put it off, a problem for another day. My gran didn't really think about repairs or sorting issues with the place, as they all took a back seat while she grieved the loss of my granddad. These last few months have meant a lot of back and forth trips for me, but honestly, I don't mind. I can't bear the thought of her being all alone in this massive house, especially as this would be her first Christmas without him. I stand there for a moment, debating on whether to let myself in with the spare key or knock and await an answer. Just as my hand settles on the battered mahogany wood, I hear the latch click. The door creaks open slightly, enough for me to peer through the gap, but I can't see anything. Gently, I push it all the way open, and all that greets me is darkness. My gran, nowhere to be seen. Now, I'm starting to feel uneasy. I reach into my pocket and pull out my phone, using the torch on it to provide a light source. I step all the way in, closing the door behind me. The smell of aged wallpaper, dampness, and TCP hit me first. The longer I linger in the hallway, the more unsettling it feels. Memories cover the walls, documenting my family's lives for all to see in dusty picture frames. As I'm looking at my grandparents' wedding photo, a burst of light suddenly fills the hall. It scares me so much I drop my phone, which I instantly regret when I hear a crunch. A part of me prays it's not the screen as it hits the floor. I look around and see Christmas lights surrounding me, hanging from frame to frame, all the way across the walls to the door leading to the living room. I bend down to retrieve my phone, and relief washes over me when I see no damage. I can't afford another phone this close to Christmas. I've only just covered the cost of flowers for the funeral. A wave of sadness hits me like a truck, but I'm doing everything I can to hold back the tears. I promised I would not let her see me like this. I pass a tiny Christmas tree on the stairs, just randomly perched on the first step. Jesus, Nana, now that's an accident waiting to happen. I bend down and go to pick it up, but a sound catches my attention from behind the closed door of the next room. "Leave it be, Emily. It's not hurting anyone," a voice calls out from the other side. I take a deep breath and open the door to look inside. And there, sitting in the armchair by the fireplace, is my Gram, a weary smile on her lips. Her silver hair is cropped to her shoulders as she sits patiently. The fireplace illuminates her figure as sparkles from her dress catch in the light. "Nan, you can't leave it there. Someone could trip over it." "Well, it won't be me that trips on it, as I put it there," she states, matter of fact. "It's bloody freezing, Nan," I say, letting out a shudder. "Well, of course it is. Where were you? Born in a barn? Close the bloody door behind you," Nan commands. I mutter an apology under my breath as I close the door. "Then come over to me by the fire, you daft beggar." I shake my head with disbelief and smile as she motions me to come over. I sit in front of her and she puts both her wrinkled hands near my cheeks. I can feel the cold coming off her without her even touching me. "Let me look at you," she cues. "You looked stressed, darling. What's wrong?" I could never hide anything from her. It was always like a sixth sense with Nan. I take a moment to compose myself before answering. "They want to sell the house, Nan." It takes a moment, but I can see her brow furrow as she processes this information. She looks back at me, smiles without a word, and simply points over to the cabinet behind me. "Well then, I have something for you." Did she even hear what I said? "Emily, did you hear what I said? Honestly, just like your father. Short attention span." Sorry, no, I heard you, but did you hear what I said?" I ask. She answers me with silence and just keeps waving me toward the cabinet. Yes, now go on, get your present. Humor an old woman one last time, would ya?" She never had to ask me twice. I knew better than to ignore her. So I let out a heavy sigh before walking to the cabinet. I reach for the handle and pull the door open. Inside is a small box wrapped in children's Christmas paper. I reach in and pass the tiny package from one hand to the other, confused. "You thought I forgot you, didn't you? I found this in one of me catalogs and knew you had to have it," she announces proudly. "Nan, when did you even have time to get this?" "Oh, it's always been in there. I just wanted to save it for the right moment." Tears fill my eyes and I cannot hold back the emotional tidal wave about to be released. I fall to my knees and sob over the gift in front of me. "Bloody hell, Emily, it's just a ring with your initial on it. There's no need to get so weepy. I just couldn't afford anything Pricey this year. I, I, I love it, I say, between sobs. Using my sleeve as a tissue, I wipe the tears from my eyes. She says nothing for a moment, simply nods and smiles as she leans back in her recliner. I can hear the wind whistling through the window panes. The sounds around the house seem to make it more animated. I grew up in this house, spending many Christmas days in this very room. Having turkey dinners, I still feel like someone else is here, watching us from the corners of the room. It's almost like someone is standing behind me. It takes a moment, but then, when I listen intently, I swear I can hear someone breathing heavily in the darkness. As much as I don't want to look, in my peripheral vision, I swear I can see movement. I think maybe it's time I leave, she declares, pulling me out of my inner thoughts. What? Well, if they're selling the house, it's probably best that I go, isn't it? I feel a knot in the pit of my stomach as I take in her statement. Not sure how I am supposed to feel about this sudden revelation. A part of me is relieved. She's finally deciding to move on. But another part of me wants to beg her to stay. A selfish part of me doesn't want to sell my grandparents' house, as it's too painful. Having to leave behind all the memories that made this house a home. But the truth is, I must think of what is best for her. I can see the embers of the fire starting to dwindle when I look out the window. I can see snow is already forming on the windowsill. At this point, getting a taxi back will be the only option this late at night. I can see the wheels turning. A penny for your thoughts, she asks, with a loving gaze. I take in every feature, memorizing every micro expression she makes, from the way she straightens the hem of her dress to the curls tucked behind her ears. Then I look down at the neatly wrapped box in my hands, and suddenly I am a wide-eyed child again in her presence. Nana, how come you stayed after Granddad passed? I watch her chew her lip before lifting herself from her chair, and she starts hobbling towards me. I'm still on the floor, clutching the box, when an icy chill runs through my veins as her hands make contact with mine. Why? Why, because I'm the only family you have around here. I couldn't bear the thought of you being alone on Christmas of all days. Choking back the tears takes all the strength I had, but I look up into her deep blue eyes and smile. Well, I love you, but I promise I will be fine, I assure her. She nods at me, then places a tentative kiss on the top of my head, sending electricity through my head all the way down to my fingers. She just giggles at my reaction. I close my eyes and embrace the smell of her perfume. Tweed is basically the perfume that almost every elderly lady used to wear, and Nan was no exception. I also take in the undertones of carnations, her favorite flower. She had a bouquet on every special occasion. When I open my eyes and look back to the recliner, I'm once again reminded of the reality of the situation. There, nestled between the cushions, is a silver urn. I reach down and check my phone to see it's a minute past midnight on Christmas Eve. The fire is burning what's left of the log as I take in the details of the room once more. No decorations, no Christmas lights hanging up. I even look back for the tiny Christmas tree on the stairs, but that too is gone. I'm sitting in the middle of the room, and all that remains is me and the recliner holding her ashes. It's at that moment that I realize she is truly gone. And I start tearing away the wrapping paper, revealing a velvet box housing a single ring with the initial E on the band. The last present I would ever have from her. I slip the ring onto my finger and tuck the box into my coat pocket. Once I take a moment to compose myself, I rise to my feet and watch as the last embers of the fire burn. I miss her already. Tears stream down my face as I feel her essence leave the room. At least you're at peace now, I whisper to the darkness. I turn and head towards the living room, one foot in front of the other, trying to focus so that my grief doesn't consume me on the spot. I reach my hand for the handle. A cold air shifts past my neck, forcing me to swivel on my heel as a noise from behind catches my attention. The curtains sway as the wind whistles through the gap in the pane, and my eyes trace the outline of a figure. I can see a shadow moving around outside in the snow, forcing my heart to beat out of my chest. It's not Nan. No, Nan is gone. I watch the phantom pacing outside the window. All I can do is stand there, motionless. Fear freezes my body into place as the entity moves through the window and into the room with me. The bony hand rising towards me points a single digit towards my chest. I can't catch my breath. The air, it feels like tar. The cloaked figure looms over me, 7 feet tall, and my vision is already starting to blur. I was hoping to avoid this, but I guess there is no avoiding the inevitable. The snow lay thick on the ledge, and the wind howled wildly like a banshee. But I was not afraid. I knew that at some point I would have to face my mistakes, deal with the fallout of all my decisions. But at least my Nan, the person I loved the most, was my guide for the second part of my journey. It's time to follow the next spirit and face the consequences of my actions. A strange start to Christmas Day, but at least I won't be alone. As I take the skeletal hand with my right, I place my Nan's urn onto the ground, ready to travel to the next phase of this unusual expedition. But at least I know when I return, she shall be here waiting for me, like she has always been. Thank you so much for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Merry Christmas.